Good evening and welcome to What's Your Story? My guest today is Sherry Tabor, who will give us a glimpse of her 20-year odyssey of raising and caring for a child with special needs. Sherry, welcome to the show. Please tell us, what is your story? Let me begin with a question, Sherry. Welcome. My first question would be, what special needs does your child have?
Well, my son is on the autism spectrum. Through the years, he needed different types of services: occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, worked with a social group, a social worker. And as he progressed through school, he needed a para to help him organize, help him finish up work, help him to understand some of the things maybe he didn't understand. The socialization is a big part of autism. Interacting with the kids in the playground, he didn't know how to interact. I would get phone calls, Mrs. Tabor, the kids are playing all together, but Kane is running around them in a circle. He didn't quite know how to interact. He's tried, but he just didn't know, and that was because of his autism. And I think that was the first clue, at least to the school system,
Certainly.
that he was on the spectrum.
Certainly.
I knew as his mother, probably around 2.
You detected it at that early age.
Yes.
You didn't actually know what it was, but you knew, which
Right.
Brings us to the next question. Exactly what is autism? I certainly do not know a medical or clinical definition. You as a parent who have dealt with it these past decades certainly have more of a grasp on it than I do. Would you please share what it is?
Well, I'm going to read this, Jim. I found this online, and it tells exactly how I feel.
Okay.
The joy of autism. I've gone to bed crying. I've gone to bed laughing. I've been frustrated many times, but I've been blessed and amazed. I've been angry over little things, but I've been delighted 1,000 more. I felt defeated some days, but I've gathered more strength overall. I felt helpless in ways, but I've learned so much in return. I've never known a love so strong, but I've been given the greatest of all.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
That touched my heart when I saw that. I'm sure many parents that have children on the spectrum feel that way. It can be very frustrating looking for services. You know, when you're having a child, you have these visions for any of your children.
Absolutely, these dreams.
These
yes.
dreams that you have, your child's going to grow up and get married,
Absolutely.
have children, have a family.
Yes.
But when you have any kid with special needs, in my case, my son has autism, some of those dreams they'll never achieve. But they can achieve a lot.
When was your child diagnosed with autism?
Officially at 18.
Why did it take so long? Why 18?
Well, you have to think back 20, 25 years ago.
Okay.
They didn't know a lot about autism. At the age of 3, we came back. My husband was in the service. We came back from Germany, stayed with my sister-in-law, and her son was going to school at the time. He brought a paper home saying, if your child, you know, if you see certain things in your child, you can come and bring them and get them checked out. So I did that, and they checked for speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and he was recognized of having some delays. So that's how I got him into special ed preschool. That's how we started.
Wow.
They just diagnosed him as under neurological disorder because they didn't know what to diagnose him under. So as he, like I said, as he progressed through school, and then at the age of 6, I took him over to Yale. that didn't really come with any diagnosis. And then I believe he was,
So getting a diagnosis was even difficult?
yes.
Ah, okay.
So at the age of, I think he was 8 or 9,
Yes.
we took him over to Hartford Hospital, and they diagnosed him with dyspraxia. That's a low muscle tone.
Okay.
And he told me it was a symptom of a syndrome. I knew what the syndrome was. The syndrome was autism. But I still needed somebody, a professional, to say, yes, he's autistic. So yes, he did get some of the services that he needs for school, but I don't think they were specifically towards autism.
So we're talking, he was 18, so it's several years ago. By the way, which brings me to the next question. How old is he now?
My son's 27.
Is he still living with you?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a progression that we're working towards, getting him as independent as possible. I do believe he'll be able to live on his own. We're getting help through the state of Connecticut through their autism program. He does get a mentor and a life coach. I believe it's 12 hours a week.
And how will you be able to determine that he's now competent and capable to live on his own? How will you be able to determine that?
Just if he's following through some of the programs that he's in. He's working with a behavioralist right now. This might sound silly to some people, but just carrying a key to your house and knowing how to use it. Mm-hmm. Checking the mail and sorting it out, what's important, what needs to be looked at right now. Because she was telling me that a lot of times what happens to these adults is they don't sort their mail. They'll, throw out something that's important, and then the time goes by and they lose a service. Just little things like that. How to grocery shop, how to balance a checkbook, some safety issues. I know Kane's only going to progress so much under my wing.
Let's talk about the under the wing now.
I have to let him fly.
That's right. Let's talk about that a little bit. Does he want to be on his own now?
He has been saying that for a few years. We just discussed that with his behavioralist recently. She asked if, Kane, do you want to be out on your own? And he said yes. And she asked him if he was ready. He said he got a little nervous and said, I think maybe in a year. Some of that is anxiety ridden because he's never been on his own.
I don't want to trap you here, but for my viewing audience, please explain, is it normal for a child to be in his 20s and his or her 20s and not on their own? Wouldn't the separation process from family begin earlier under normal circumstances?
For a neurotypical child?
Right, yes, for a person in Kane's situation. I guess I'm thinking the earlier they start being independent, mm-hmm. the more independent they will become.
Well, that's what I've been working on for the past 27 years, Jim. It starts with, there's just a massive lot of things that you need to know how to do. Your own laundry, like I said, grocery shopping, budgeting, how to find the right apartment. Is it safe to, is it a safe area? Juggling your social obligations, time management is a big one for Kane. He struggles with that.
At what point will you feel comfortable that he has attained whatever his proficiency level is for him to be on his own? And what exactly does being on his own entail? Does that mean, in the traditional sense, living in an apartment by himself or living in a group situation?
Well, I believe that Kane would be in an apartment. I would like to see him with a roommate. And I spoke to his behavioralist mm-hmm. about this. She feels the same way. That way there's a check system. somebody forgets to leave the stove out. Oh, the other guy caught it. Learning to get along with somebody else. That's a good social skill to learn. Then you're not alone. You have a buddy. I think in that situation, Kane can be on his own. Plus, he'll get help from his mentor and a life coach that's provided by the state of Connecticut for him. Am I going to be nervous about it? Yes. Am I going to have anxiety about it? Probably.
But that's a fair answer, Mom,
Yeah.
yes. Does having a special needs child create conflict in the home?
I would say yes in general. Sometimes one parent is not thinking the same way as the other parent as far as services. Just even acknowledging yourself that I have a special needs child. Sometimes the parent might blame themselves. What did I do wrong? Is it because of me? I went through that a little bit myself.
How did you deal with that, Sherry?
Well, I felt, this is a child that God gave me. There was a reason for that, and I'm thankful for it. So that's how I dealt with it. And I was exposed as a young child with lots of different disabilities. So I wasn't like, oh, I don't know what that is. I knew what autism was, in some aspect. I've learned more as I've gone along through the years with Kane. Researched, because I second-guessed myself, because the professionals weren't, saying, yes, he is autistic. So I thought, well, maybe it's something else.
So why were the professionals so reluctant to say he was suffering or experiencing autism? Why would they say that? Why would they be so resistant to that diagnosis?
Well, I just think, like I said, because it was 25 years ago, and they didn't know about it as much as they know now. Now they diagnose them 2 years old or younger and start therapies right away. In Kane's case, like I was saying, he didn't get diagnosed till he was 18. He did have, therapies and different things through the school system, things I did with him at home. But they have much more available now for these kids coming up, different services. Just go on the web and you'll find, tons of services for children and some for adults. I believe there need to be more for adults because these children are growing up. And
You mean more
adults.
for adults with autism?
Yes.
There's still not a lot of things out there at this point.
No, there is more than there was years ago.
Yes.
But I believe there's, because as the kids grow up, they're going to need supports too. Autism isn't something that's going to go away. There'll always be autistic.
Do you know if is it genetic? Is it caused by, how is it contracted?
I don't know if they specifically know what it is.
Yes.
I do have another family member that is autistic.
Okay.
So it could be genetic.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. And then you think about that and think, oh, is it my fault? I don't blame myself anymore.
So you subscribe to the view that God gives special children to special people?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
I'm special.
Okay, absolutely. Talk about those dreams, because I'm struck by that. We get the news that our wife is going to have a baby, and most of us have this preconceived notion, he's going to be, I don't know, a quarterback for a major football team or what have you.
I wanted a son 6'2". Kane is 6'1", so I got that.
You wanted a son 6'2".
Yep.
So, okay, you got 6'1". All right. So,
of course the dreams were, like I was saying, to have a family.
yes.
I would love to have grandchildren, obviously. just be, successful in life.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean you have to be rich. It means, to live a happy life, and Cain can achieve that. I may not have felt that years ago, but I do feel that now. When he got diagnosed with autism, one thing did bother me that the doctor said. She felt that he would never be able to live alone, and he'd have to live in a group home. And that never came across. I never thought of that for him. So that was kind of a shock.
Sure.
And that took me a while to come to accept that. So if that's what happens, that's fine. He can still achieve a lot. He can still be happy. And to be a successful person, to me, you have to be happy where you are,
Okay.
happy with yourself.
So success means you're happy in the blossom where you're planted.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Now,
So-
we talked a bit about your mom, and the question was, what prepared you to deal with a child with special needs? And you talked about your mom. You want to talk a little bit about that? You saw and what you learned from her, and what your mom dealt with?
Well, my brother had an intellectual disability. We are 8.5 years apart.
Okay.
So I was old enough to understand a little bit. He had several surgeries. He was much more severe than Cain. But I saw the way my mother dealt with that. She was a warrior for my brother. The struggles that she had, the struggles my parents had, going through the motions, blaming yourself, and then overcoming that, and then you have to overcoming, your child needs services. Where do I get those services? The time it takes, the extra time it might take with a special needs child.
You observed firsthand your mother as a warrior, you described it,
Yeah.
for your brother.
Right.
Do you see yourself in the vanguard as a warrior for your son?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think I'm more naturally, or I used to be more naturally shy. That has brought me definitely out of my shell.
Really, having a child with special needs
Well, I have to-
forced you to.
I have to advocate for him.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, he's learning to advocate for himself as he gets older.
Yes.
But initially, I had to do it. I was so concerned about him having friendships. So I did, Cub Scouts with him,
Sure,
and
sure.
Bible club, and basketball. And I saw my mother do those things with my little brother.
Your mother's struggle touched you, did it not?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Deeply,
yes.
yes.
And the love that she had for her son.
Yes.
I think it changed the whole family, actually.
Really?
Yes. In our case, I think it brought us closer together. He was like the best hugger ever, my little brother. And he just had unconditional love that he gave us. And that was probably the best part of him.
Sherry, our viewing audience wants to know, is letting go part of the problem for moms and children with special needs? Mom holding on there. Is that a realistic way to look at it?
Yeah, as a mother, letting go of any child is a little difficult, but especially with a special needs child. I'm concerned about safety issues. I'm concerned about people taking advantage of him. I've been so deeply involved in his education, him growing up, and I have to let that go so he can blossom. And I realize that.
Is that a constant struggle, Sherry?
Yes, I realize that, and I know it's going to come soon. And I have to deal with that because I know that's the best thing for him. As a mother, I want to hold on, and I don't want to let him go. But also, for his own good and mine, I need to let him go.
Did you tell him you were going to do this show?
Yeah, we discussed it. He is 27. He knows he's autistic. he's learned to accept that.
How does that knowledge make him react to those around him knowing that? Does he see himself as somehow inhibited or unable to do things? Is he frustrated? How?
Like, he knows I talk to other people about autism. He knows I talk to other people about him.
Yes.
You know, we've discussed it, and he'll say, "I'm fine with that, Mom." He says, "I know you're going to do that, Mom." And you know, I explained to him. I said, "I'm doing that because, for one, I'm networking with other people,
Yes.
trying to find out more information. I'm trying to help other people in their situation with their son or daughter. You know, even if they just need somebody to talk to. I have wonderful friends that support me.
Absolutely.
But when the other parent has a child with autism, they get it completely.
Get it. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
My mother was a huge supporter for me because she's dealt with. She used to work where they had people with autism
Sure.
and other
Sure.
types of disabilities, and dealing with my brother, dealing with the school systems, you know, trying to get him services, dealing with different doctors, dealing with how you feel about yourself because you have a special needs child.
Yes.
So I saw that in my mother.
Sherry, fill in the blanks here. My special need child is blank.
Is funny, is lovable, is awesome.
And you find that every day?
Yes. You know, it's frustrating sometimes when he may not get something. I do get frustrated, you know, sometimes with him, but I know it's not his fault, and I have to remind myself, you know, he doesn't think like everybody else.
You told me earlier that you were a person of faith. How's your faith helped you?
It's helped me immensely. Like I said, I feel that, you know, God gave me this child for a reason. What was the question?
Oh, how's your faith helped you?
Oh, okay. You know, just struggling through daily life with him, you know. I pray for him daily. I pray for strength and especially patience for myself. And, you know, going to services and stuff and talking to other people, you know, and having people pray for me. People are praying for me right now that this goes well and this will help somebody out there in TV land.
So what advice would you give a parent who just discovered that their child is, say, autistic? What advice would you give that couple?
Look for support. Go to the internet, research. Even in your local schools, you know, ask them for support. That's the most important, you know, to advocate and get support for yourself and for your child. Networking. You know, so you can talk to other people that are in the same situation so you don't feel alone. I didn't have that when Kane was coming up. And I'm glad they have that now, where they have, you know, places and people that you can talk to about autism, you know, about how you're feeling, and the frustrations and the struggles you may be going through trying to help your child.
Have you found that where you live will determine the services available for your child? Are there better services in one town versus another?
Yeah, I mean, if you live in a state or a town that, you know, is middle to upper income, you're probably going to get more services, you know, unfortunately. And it varies from state to state. I know Michigan, they have very good services for young children.
Yes.
But older children,
not so much.
No, not
Yeah.
so much.
Right.
You know, Connecticut does have the Connecticut Autism Program, which has helped Kane immensely. But there's, you know, there's still things that can be done.
What makes you most proud of Cain?
That he continues to try. He's been through several job, assessments, and each time he goes, he learns a little bit more, and he doesn't give up.
Where do you think he got that stick-to-itiveness from? You? From his grandmother?
From his own ma, yeah.
Yeah, from you. Yes. What is your dream for Cain now? What is the ideal dream for him from his mother? What would you like to see?
For him to be able to get a job, for him to get an apartment and start his own life. Even though it'll be difficult for me, as his mother.
Mom, why would that be difficult, though? I mean, you've given him everything he needs in order to stand on his own.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's just being a mother.
Just being a mother.
Yeah.
Okay, and the viewing audience understands what that's all about.
Right.
Just being a mother.
Right.
Hard to let go.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But I will.
Has he ever said to you, Mom, I'm ready to go?
No. No.
No, okay.
Like I said, the last time he said he thinks he'll be ready in a year. That could be just a little anxiety that he has, the unknown. Mm-hmm. We are starting to go. He hasn't gone and looked at places. When we find a place, I want to go and take him so he can view it, just so he can say, I can ask him, is this what you're looking for? Looking at on paper and actually visually seeing it is two different things.
What have you learned, Sherry? One overall lesson that you learned from having a child with autism. What would you leave our viewing audience with tonight? Something that you learned that you probably never would have thought about had you not had a child with autism.
Learn to advocate for yourself.
Advocate.
Yeah.
But I think you called it a warrior.
Not even just for a special needs child, for your neurotypical child, for yourself in general, yeah, to advocate and stick up for yourself.
Then the conflicts that may cause in your family, are there support groups to help you deal with that?
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah.
Just do some research and you can find them.
You proud of you have another son, are you proud of him as well?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
He's an awesome brother. We told Thomas when he was 8 or 9 that his brother was autistic.
Okay.
We explained it to him. I actually bought a book, and both my sons are cat people, and it said all cats are autistic.
All right. Okay.
So it was easier to explain to him.
Okay.
He does a lot of interaction with his brother.
Terrific.
I talked to Thomas about his brother, what we're trying to achieve with his brother.
Yes.
I even talk about when myself and my husband are gone.
Terrific.
To prepare him and to prepare my other son.
Thank you. Terrific. That's all the time we have for tonight's show. My thanks to my guest, Sherry Tabor, for sharing her story. Everybody has a story. What's yours? Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, good night.